This is Ryan at xcannabis.com. To kind of bridge some gaps in culture, I have been replying to a thread in Sensible Washington, and it was posted. It just comes to mind as far as religion. Christians drink wine as a symbol of their sacrament. Why on earth shouldn't a Rastafarian be entitled to practice the teachings of their symbol and their savior Haile Selassie? And I posted that the Rastas actually are a Christian creed, and I said that I've been broadcasting this for a long time. I said I've been broadcasting on this for a while. If you look up the Native American Church in Utah, you'll see cannabis sacrament is legal. Look up James Flaming Eagle Mooney. As for Rasta is a Christian religion. Rastas use the Bible as their religious text. Cannabis is a biblical sacrament, and Haile Selassie has never been known to use cannabis. The Rasta cannabis sacrament comes from Genesis 1:29 and Exodus 30:23. And I just wanted to, kind of explain how atheism and agnosticism are religious principles as well. The Seventh Circuit Court in the United States deems atheism as a religion. The dictionary, many dictionaries deem atheism and agnosticism as a religion, and cannabis sacrament can be used by anybody religious. I mean, who's the government to define what religion is to us? And if atheism has already been deemed as a religion by the Seventh Circuit Court, I think that anybody could use cannabis sacrament as a religious practice and be protected under the First Amendment right, just like James Flaming Eagle Mooney and the Oklahoma Native American Church in Utah, in Benjamin, Utah. You can look them up, and they actually won a Supreme Court case. And I even posted more about that Seventh Circuit Court ruling right here. You can look this up at atheist-community.org. But I just wanted to kind of bridge the gap here, more about what's going on in our country as far as freedoms and religious protections, because it really does apply to everybody. Another video that I posted on the Oklahoma Native American Church from Adam versus the Man, Adam Kokesh, broadcast about this last year. And then I just wanted to kind of, because Jared posted here, he says, one of the founding fathers rewrote the Bible and took out all the miracles. It makes more sense that way. And since that assertion was made, I went further into this and applied some logic to this, because this is a very interesting study. The Exodus Decoded, made by the History Channel, was one of these that explains, what happened in the Exodus plagues, in the 10 plagues of Exodus, and it's scientifically sound what happened. National Geographic also did one on this called Mystery. It's in their series Mysteries of the Bible, and it talks about the 10 plagues as well. But just because they brought this up, and in fact, Occupy Kingston said, talking about how the miracles were ridiculous or whatever, or they didn't make any sense. And anyway, he says, he makes a couple of points. Israelites had absolutely unique revelation of God at Sinai, which was the 10 Commandments twice. Adam's descendants lived for 700 years at a time. Noah took 2 of every species on the planet aboard his ark. God lived in the Ark of the Covenant, residing in the inner sanctum of the Temple of Jerusalem. Eve was created for man's rib, which has been used for justifications for thousands of years to keep women subservient to men. 5. Moses parted the Red Sea, which was actually the Reed Sea at an unknown location. And actually there's a good historical analysis of that from History Channel as well. And then 6, Moses called on God to send down 7 plagues and called on Jews to put blood on their doorframes so the firstborn children would not be killed by ghosts, like what happened to the Egyptians and Pharaoh's son in particular. So he actually kind of goes on. This list is endless for fanciful tales. Additionally, the commandment that says, "Thou shalt not have other gods before me," was solely injunction against polytheism. Blah blah blah. So, Jared says it's all the same story, plagiarized over and over again. And anyway, I commented on this, and I took the plagues, for example. I said, a lot of what you posted can't really be disputed or authenticated one way or the other. Can I prove God lived in the Ark of the Covenant? Probably not. But I'd love to address this one. Moses called God down to send 7 plagues and called on the Jews to put blood on their door frames and so on and so forth. I said, but the rest of your replies were most conjecture, so I will only be able to reply to some of these. Thanks for bringing them up. And so this is, and I don't know why, for a while my posts kept getting deleted, and then they'd come back, and they'd get deleted, and they'd come back. So now they're back, so Facebook is being weird. I kept posting, I'm like, why is my post getting deleted? And then they'd come back, so I don't know what the heck was going on there. But anyway, I posted these, and it's interesting, the way that it all went down, really, and this has been proven in the 1980s. This happened, and this was talked about. This was spoken about in this the Exodus Decoded in 2006. Talks about what happened near the Nile Delta in the at Lake Nyos in Cameroon, where the earthquake happened. Gases were released in this lake. The lake was turned red. The gases rose to a certain low-hanging level, killed all of these people in their sleep, and it was basically people that were sleeping above a certain position in the house. And back in the biblical times, the firstborn slept on the roof or up in a high position as a sign of respect or dignity, or some sort of privilege for the firstborn. And so because they were up at that level, the gas got them and killed them. And this is the same thing that happened in Lake Nyos in Cameroon back in the 80s. So these two explain how the other species of animals were killed, which like frogs and such, which eventually let the locust population rise and cause pestilence, and all these things that happened in the Bible. Well, it happened again, scientifically it happened in Lake Cameroon at the Nile Delta. So, this is just, not far from where this all actually took place, in Egypt. And it's an interesting study. I wanted to comment on that. A lot of that other stuff, there's not much I can say about it, because it's just, it's just like asking an atheist, hey, show me the puddle that the lightning storm hit that caused the molecules to change and form cells and create life, when we bubbled out of the mud. It's like, asking someone to point that out. Where was the actual place that the lightning storm hit that caused all that? If you want to make atheism's case, or evolution's case or whatever. And so it's kind of a null point, a lot of these things. But I think there's a lot more scientific information about intelligent design, DNA. The most information rich, most able of information-rich systems. In fact, it has, such a small strand of DNA has billions of characters, which can be used as binary-type digits to create functions that multiply cells and do things that create human life, or life in general, that is. But DNA is very particularly interesting, and even in the show Expelled by Ben Stein, Richard Dawkins talks about that, how he believes it's possible that intelligent design could be proven if we only had a method, or something that was shown in our DNA. Well, it's been shown now, and that's what I posted in one of my videos here, where they were talking, what the heck? Oh yeah, intelligent design. I want to ask you, Richard Dawkins, are you hallucinating? And you can look this up on YouTube, and you just type intelligent design, Richard Dawkins, are you hallucinating? Something of that nature. You'll find my video here. And, basically, he was insulting somebody who was claiming their faith, and, asking Richard Dawkins how he could make the claim that his faith was illegitimate, or, some sort of falsity or whatever. And Richard Dawkins says, the human mind can make people hallucinate. That's how I explain it. You seem very sincere, but I think you're hallucinating. And insults him. But then in this movie with Ben Stein, he says, well, yeah, intelligent design is plausible as long as it's not God. It could be an alien, it could be something else, but it couldn't be God. And, so he believes intelligent design is plausible. Well, who's to say God isn't an alien? We have a limited understanding of what God is, right? But all these cultures all throughout the world have believed in a very similar God. And that's what I've posted also in this video is, I don't just read from one historical text. I read from many historical texts, whether they're religious or just plain history. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which would be a historical book, one of the first ever written, I've read from that. I've read from, other Syrian texts, and I've read from, all the Bhagavad Gita and Hindu text and the biblical text, both the Torah and the New Testament and so on and so forth, the Tanakh. And my Bible is actually the complete Jewish Bible, and it has the New and Old Testament, but from Jewish sources. And I read of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the new findings from the Dead Sea Scrolls and the findings in the Nag Hammadi cave, and I've done a lot of studies. So, I don't just look at just one culture for answers. My wife is Native American. We've studied extensively on Native American beliefs as well, and so I think that God spoke to all people. I don't think He just spoke to one person. I believe that God, has reached out to all cultures all throughout the world. And that's what I was posting about. And this is another good one right here, Quantum Awakening. Have scientists found God? In Psalms 90, verse 4, talks about how one day with God is like, one day in God's court is like 1,000 of our days, where our time structure is different. And at the smallest quantum elements, waves and particles, time doesn't really exist. And that's what they've shown through quantum mechanics studies and observations, is that time doesn't really exist in these quantum elements. And so, yeah, God, and then, of course, the entanglement theory, how, the world came into existence and things like that, that show the biblical creation account to be very plausible. And so all these things that the Bible, authors didn't know anything about, quantum mechanics and things, are now being shown 3,600 years later, after they were written, to be very plausible. And so I thought that was interesting, and that's why I posted these videos. And so the end goal, and like in many of my videos, I've just tried to show that we can get along. We can actually get along and, actually see from one another's point of view without criticizing each other and demeaning each other and causing each other pain. We can actually, really get along here and band together and fight for things like liberty as a one unit instead of being divided. I think the powers that be divide us so much that it's hard for us to work together, and that's what they want, is for us to be divided. I'm just trying to show ways to bridge the gaps and show, that Jesus was a very awesome activist. He didn't go along with what the religious or the governmental authority said. Jesus actually went forth and stood up for the people, healed them on the Sabbath, blessed prostitutes and lowly people and people of other cultures like the Sumerians, and ate and drank with them, and was very humanitarian based in his activism. Unlike what the Catholic Church or the other churches in some cases have been, Jesus was very anti-war, authoritarian, anti-human authority, so much as giving a relationship up to God. That was his message. And not to the authorities, He was saying, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, but give to God what is God's. And I think that meant to, have a relationship with God while, living in this world and trying to, get along. And that's the thing, is we got to get along with each other. We have to. We have to find a way to band together and stop criticizing each other and making each other look foolish and demeaning each other so much. I mean, that does nothing but divide us and tear us apart. So that was my message. I hope you get to look at these. The Exodus Decoded from National Geographic, and the science behind the 10 plagues from, the Exodus Decoded was from the History Channel, and science behind the 10 plagues was from National Geographic. And you want to talk about miracles in the Bible, these are some interesting facts here.